You could be a great philosopher, a great pianist, a great gardener, and at the same time, you could take 50 gardeners and 50 philosophers, mathematicians, you would find the same distribution of happy, unhappy, benevolent and selfish. I was raised in France, first in the countryside, then in the city, and I was fortunate to, in my teens, to be exposed to many walks of life. My father was a philosopher, my mother a painter. I met great musicians, explorers. I was myself bird watching, photographing, all kinds of things. So I met a lot of people who were quite remarkable in their own field. Retrospectively, I realized I was puzzled by nothing corresponded between a particular genius and being a good human being, let's say. I used to play chess. Bobby Fischer was the great genius of 20th century, but no one wants to be Bobby Fischer as a person. So that was puzzling if you look for a role model. And so I was studying science, and I was about to enter Pasteur Institute to do a PhD with François Jacob, who was just recently got the Nobel Prize for finding the famous, RNA messenger, which has been much talked about recently. Just before entering Pasteur Institute, I saw some documentaries made by a French filmmaker, Arnaud Desjardins, you might have seen. The Message of the Tibetans, Part 1 and 2, that was the first one. He was just about finishing editing, and I was a friend of my family, so I went, he called me to have a look. At some point, there was a sequence with 20 just silent portraits, close-up on meditators, some of Dalai Lama, a great teachers like Khyentse Rinpoche and Dudjom Rinpoche, also hermits in their caves. And there was something there that there was like 20 Socrates or 20 Saint Francis of Assisi alive now. And then I suddenly realized, that was, the place to go. So I did go there. My father made me learn Greek, Latin, and German, which was not terribly helpful to take a train ticket in India. Somehow I managed to get to Darjeeling. I spent 3 months in India, and then when I came back, I realized that I didn't know what the future would be, but at least I could see what seems to me human perfection, sense of direction. And so I went every year for 6, 7 times, finishing my PhD, and when everything was over, I told my boss, François Jacob, my postdoc in the Himalayas. So then I spent 7 years in Darjeeling without moving at all, with my teacher, Kongyu Rinpoche. And after he passed away in 1975, I spent about 4 years there sort of like in retreat. Then Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche came and took us, all the disciples of Khyentse Rinpoche, in his hands. And then at some point, he said, stay with me while I'm alive. So I spent 13 years there at night with my second teacher, Khyentse Rinpoche. I would sleep on the floor in his room at night to help if he needed. And that's also how I met His Holiness the Dalai Lama, because the Dalai Lama, Khyentse Rinpoche, had met His Holiness in Lhasa, in the Jokang, and His Holiness became very interested in who he was. And when he came to India, he asked whether Khyentse Rinpoche had made it to India. So they met again, and then he wanted to receive teaching from Khyentse Rinpoche or all the Nyingma traditions. So he did that regularly, almost every year or every 2 years. Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche would go for 1 week, 10 days, 2 weeks, and His Holiness and Khyentse Rinpoche would be in a room, 2 of them for the whole day, and we would come in the morning and come to fetch them in the evening. And sometimes His Holiness allowed the attendants to stay for the day, so it was amazing. And both of them being so humble with each other, and it was incredible. So they was very kind with me. And so then at some point I was in Paris, and by accident or what, His Holiness was there. I went to see him, and they used to speak either in Tibetan or English, and there would be a Tibetan to English translation and Tibetan to French. So he said, oh, you are here, you do it directly for French. So I became his interpreter, just like that. So anyway, basically, After then 1972, I went first in 67, 72, I settled in Darjeeling, spent there. I spent most of my time in the Himalayas since then. And then there was a little unpredicted event in 97. Someone proposed, was here, I proposed to do a book of dialogue with my father. I thought he would never accept as being a agnostic French philosopher, dialogue with a Buddhist monk, even that was his son, but somehow he said yes, so I thought I was in big trouble. So I said, having played soccer in my youth, I said, okay, he comes here, I play on my home turf. So we'd spend 10 days in the mountains, and the Monk and Philosopher was published, and it was the beginning of my trouble, or beginning of an opportunity. So then it sort of rolled on for 25 years of maelstrom, and now I decided to step away a little bit, but it also gave us some opportunity. Some books came out. I don't know if they are useful, but I did something. And then we started with the royalties of my book, 100%. I gave all away. We started the Karuna-Shechen. Now we are celebrating 25 years this year. And as today, we help about 500,000 people every year in India, Nepal, and some in Tibet for extreme poverty, women literacy, all kinds of things. So I think somehow it was useful, but I don't know. Now I'm 79. I want to be quiet in the mountain. I think that's time to get out of the whirlpool, stop clowning around, and I don't want to die in the airport. So now I'm mostly focused on practice and translation again. I came back to my initial vocation. I was a translator, so I'm translating all the time. I just finished an 800-page translation of a commentary by Khyentse Rinpoche on the Gyawa Longchenpa's Mengadze, which is the treasury of essential instruction. So it was an oral commentary that was transcribed and published as a book. So I'm very happy to be able to do that. Culturally, I feel very comfortable in the Tibetan environment. The way they, especially communities, it's a collective culture. We are quite large community, 600 monks. And I see all those people in chat. They change every 3 years. And when you traveled to my Hermitage recently, and a number of our senior monks and Kempos and all that, they were in charge. We traveled together, 5 or 6. They laugh all the time. They're so easygoing, friendly with each other. Frankly, I never seen some kind of tension and these ego clashes. And so many years now in this monastery, I saw it built 40 years ago. This is not in the culture, and people also don't over-express their feelings, and everything is about feeling and emotions and all that. There's nothing wrong, of course, with expressing emotion and being genuine, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama is. Paul Ekman said he rarely sees someone who is so transparent about his compassion or being sad or something. But that's not the way. The West usually often express emotion is very again individualistic and self-centered somehow. So I feel much at ease in this culture. Yes, I feel completely at home, and I know, well, you come sometime at breakfast in the morning. If you don't want to speak, you just sit there, eat, and nobody says, "Oh, you didn't ask me how I feel today," and all that. So I think it's very restful. Whatever happens now, everything that is meaningful, inspiring, and good, my own experience, I'm not saying me as a person, I'm 100% sure clear that it is the kindness of my teachers and of the Dharma. One of my teacher, Jimmy Kasamush, said, otherwise I would be one of those arrogant scientists. I don't share fully the opinion that certainly all scientists are not arrogant, but there's many more arrogant people who are also ignorant, not like scientists who know what they're talking about. Anyway, so everything, I hope to the kindness of my teacher, their teaching, their presence especially, being the living example of embodiment of spiritual human perfection. So that's the thing that allows me to die without any regret. And then my personal achievement, not much. But fortunate, infinite.